Hi, I'm Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Current blog post I want to share there, of course, review the latest in social media and technology. This is a phone versus comparison from the newest, latest, greatest Samsung phone out called the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 and the Samsung Galaxy S3, its little brother, sister, whatever you want to call it, predecessor. And they're both wonderful, awesome phones, of course, made by Samsung. So we're going to do some comparison videos, see how they match up with one another, and see which phone might be best for you in the future, or you can see how your current Samsung compares to the other one. So let's get into this. We have the Samsung Galaxy from AT&T.com. They're both actually from AT&T.com. Thanks to AT&T.com for providing the phones for us. Be sure to check out their website and all their cool stuff, and tell them Chris Voss sent you. So let's do some comparisons between the size of these two phones. The Galaxy Note 2 is 5.94 in height, 3.17 in width, 0.37 in thickness, with a weight of 6.34 ounces. On the Galaxy Samsung S3, we're looking at dimensions of 5.38, 2.78 in width, and 0.34 in thickness, with a weight of 4.68 ounces. They both run on Android, and in the case of the S3, it's running on 4.04. In the case of the Galaxy Note 2, it's running on Jelly Bean, so it's got the latest Jelly Bean update on it, and should come out of the box with 4.1 Android on it. Now, the physical size of the screen on the Note 2 is 5.55 inches, 720 by 1280 pixels, 265 ppi, super AMOLED screen, 16.7 million colors, a capacitive multi-touch. The battery talk time is 15 hours. Standby time at 3G is 10.4 days, 12.5 days on standby for 4G. And it has a massive 3100 milliampere hour battery, so just a massive battery that's on here with the Note 2. With the S3, what we have is a battery that's up to 8 hours max, standby 199 hours max, 2100 milliamp battery, so about 1,000 less. On the display on both these devices, well, let's get into the hardware. The Note 2 is a Samsung Exynos, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, 4-chip. It's a quad core, one of the new versions of quad cores that are coming to the States. 1600 megahertz, 1.6 gigahertz, you can probably call it, processor. It's got a 2048 megabyte RAM, 16 gigabytes of internal storage. You can expand through micro SD up to 64 gigabytes. On the S3, you're looking at a display of OLED. The resolution is 720 by 1280 pixels, 4.8 diagonal screen. Colors are 16.7 million colors, and it's a Samsung Super AMOLED screen. It has a 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon dual-core processor. Memory is 16 gigabytes, and 2 gigabytes of RAM are on the device. It is expandable on the device up to 64 gigabytes. You can put your micro SD card in. On the Note 2, looking at the camera, we have an 8 megapixel back camera and a 1080p HD 30 frames per second video camera at the back. Front camera is a 1.9 front camera. On the back camera on the Samsung Galaxy S3, we're looking at a back camera of 8 megapixels, and on the camera, it's of course also 1080p, and you can take and utilize it that way. And on the front-facing camera, we're looking at a 1.9 megapixel resolution. So pretty similar there in the camera's modes. We're going to show you the camera comparisons, although I think they might be the same build of camera. We're not really sure. But let's take a look at both these. Now they come with the Samsung UI that's on them, which is a very good UI. Each of them have what we call infinite swipe, where you can take and go between the screens with an infinite scroll. You can also have the drop down, of course, with the you get with the UI from Samsung. Some really cool things that are on the new Jelly Bean version. They've got what's called an all-share cast. I don't know if that's been updated to this thing yet. No. They have an all-share cast where you can share with other Samsung devices your photos and everything else. It will sense them. You can send video, music, all that sort of good stuff. So it has a way to identify other devices in the area, especially Samsungs that have this sharing sort of mode, and they're able to, you're able to hook them in. Like the UI that's in the new Jelly Bean, it works really well. It gives you a whole lot more different settings in the settings menu and control of the device, and it just operates better overall. So that gives you a rundown of the OS. Since these are so close to comparison, they're pretty much the same. On the Samsung Note 2, we have a small speaker front for making calls. We have some sensors. We have a front-facing camera. We have a home button per se, and then we have a capacitive touchscreen for menu and back button. For the Samsung Galaxy S3, we have a sensor here. We also have a speaker for making calls, some more sensors, front-facing camera. We have the home button, and just like the other, we have a capacitive touchscreen for menu and back. Looking at the back of both devices, they're very similar. In fact, what it really looks like, especially with the new version of Galaxy Note, it really looks like just a stretched out, expanded on the Note 2. It looks like a stretched out and expanded S3, but it's not. So let's get into that and what it is. Now, they both have removable backs to them, so you can get access to the battery, and you can also SIM cards and be able to plug in your micro SD card. You can see here at the top we have the camera eye, we have the lamp flash, camera eye, lamp flash over here, and then we have the speaker up here, where on the Galaxy Note we have the speaker down here. One thing they did do is on the speaker they put a little lip that sticks out on it. I think that's to keep the back raised up off of tables and stuff so it doesn't get scratched as much. Now, one key core difference that we have here is there's a stylus pen that comes with the Galaxy Note, hence the Note sort of function, if you will. And you've also got a kind of mouse thing right here where you can click on stuff and do things. Now, of course, once you activate the stylus, as long as you have this program this way, you can begin to draw, make notes, all that sort of good stuff, and get really creative. Works really well for the device if that's your thing to make notes. I don't even write anymore, so I don't know what the purpose is of writing. I just type it. But there's some people that are more artistically inclined that way, and that's important. Different strokes for different folks, right? Let's take and pull off the back so that you can see the back of each of these devices and how they do. They both feel pretty solid. They've got kind of a plasticky pop-off back, but they both do feel pretty solid in their operations and build. Okay, so we can see here that we've got a 3100 milliamp battery in the back. You got a place for your micro SD card and SIM card. On the S3, micro SD card, SIM card, removable battery. So either way, it's pretty good for you. This is a great battery that they've been able to squeeze into that for that small of a space. Okay, so let's take a look at the design of each one. Down the right hand side, we've got a small power button. I kind of liked on the Galaxy S3 how it seems to ride higher up. This one was down a bit further, and I kind of preferred it the other way. There's a microphone hole here, and there's also a earphone jack. We have your rocker volume button there, and on the bottom we have your sync charging unit, and there's a small area there for a microphone. On the right hand side of the Galaxy S3 we have the power button here. Across the top we have a microphone hole, and we have your earphone jack. Whoops, we're destroying phones now at this point. We have your volume rocker button on the left hand side, and looks like we have your charging port right here on the bottom and a small microphone hole. Okay, so here you can see a speed test we did on both devices. Now, these are both through AT&T.com, and of course when we ran them we had the internet turned off, obviously the Wi-Fi turned off. You can see we're running off the results log here. So you can see the scores that they took and got. Okay, so here's the Geekbench 2 scores. I'm kind of surprised. We've run this about 3 or 4 times. I know Geekbench 2 has updated their app a couple times. Normally we've seen higher scores out of both these devices, but this is what we're going to have to go with. We keep running it over and over, and every time we do, we're getting a lower score. So 1554 is what we're getting on the Galaxy Samsung Note. I swear we've seen it up as high as 1900. On the Samsung Galaxy S3, we're getting a 1169 score. I think they usually rank about 1300, usually what we see on average out of the S3. And I should note that when I say the Note, I mean the Note 2, of course. Okay, so here we can see the color quality on both screens. The Note 2, of course, has a much bigger screen, but I got to tell you, it definitely has. There's been some improvements made to the quality of color. Color is definitely much more richer on the Note 2. It's probably, semi-slight difference. I think it's definitely, I can see more reds, more yellows. The magenta purple seems to pop a whole lot more. I think it's definitely a considerable amount of change there in the color. Okay, so here we're testing on a Skype localized Wi-Fi the front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. You can see it gets really good. It projects really good video. As you can see here, I'm receiving it on my iPad 3. The reason we have it blocked out on the other side is to make sure that you know which video is the one that we're testing out and broadcasting. Of course, on the iPad 3 is the receiver, so you can see how well the Note's putting out. Okay, so now here you can see our experience over a localized Wi-Fi, and of course results may vary. We've got some sound cycling that we're experiencing, so you can see how that plays out on the Samsung Galaxy S3. We've been doing a number of recordings, so there's probably a little bit backed up in the two of them, but you can see I'm coming out really well on this end. We're just having a little problems with the receiving end, which may be coming from the iPad 3. So you can see it looks really well on what's being sent on this end. Okay, so let's take a look at the Android camera that's on the Note 2. It's got a very powerful, awesome camera on it. It's great. It really rock and rolls. I think the only thing that rivals it is the iPhone 5 and the 4S. So you can see here you've got several different menu items where you've got your front-facing camera switch, you've got your flash switch, and of course this would change to lamp if you're in video mode. You've got different shooting modes you can take and do. One of the cool things is the burst shot that comes with the device, where you can shoot off a whole mess of shots and everything else. You've got effects that you can take and preload onto the screen to be able to see what's going on. You can edit the shortcuts, of course, that are over here. Do burst shots, self-portrait, different effects, exposure values. You've got total control. Different scene modes that you might have that you can take and do here. Portrait, landscape, sports, indoor, sunset, dawn. They have quite a bit with the Samsungs. Timers, the resolution, white balance, ISO, metering, all sorts of different stuff, as you can see here, that you can take and do. They probably have one of the most extensive lists of different settings and tweaks you can take and do of any Android phone that's out there. And of course, once you switch to video mode, you've got much the same. You can set limits for MMS. Now, the one thing that's really cool about this about this one is it will do slow motion and fast motion, which is really, really cool. Basically, it will film in fast motion or slow motion, and what's nice is you don't have to have an app to take and slow it down like you would with other devices. So that's really fun and interesting, and of course you've got different effects you can take and put in here along the way. So we'll show you some of this. Now, the one great thing about the device is it shoots very well in night functions. It's got an excellent lamp and an excellent flash. This is a completely dark room. The flash was able to light up the room and also be able to secure a in-focus shot. Here is another shot where it's completely dark, I'm not even kidding you, and you can see how well it lit up this whole hallway and how well it shot down the corridor. It's got a great flash to it. Here's us using the lamp and the video mode, and of course the flash is a lot more powerful, as you can see within the colors. So there's that there, but you can see it does shoot pretty far down the hallway, so that's good. Let's take a look at some video here that we took and did. Now this is the fast motion video that's kind of funny to watch. You can see the dogs moving really fast. I believe this might be a slow motion video where the dogs are going to be moving really slow, and I'm slowly backing away. There you go. You can see the slow motion. It's pretty darn cool. I like it. It's pretty fun. So we had fun doing that with my dogs. You can see here it takes really good pictures. These are outside in the daylight pictures. And you can see how well the blues, greens, everything comes out and pops really well. We've got the sun setting, et cetera, et cetera. We're even going to, I think, come up here tight. You can see the lines in really good detail, even in close-up shots that come through. You can see the pictures, some of the pictures we had here. There's a sunset, so we're not going to get much of a good picture setting there because of the blast of the sun going down. But you can see here the colors come out just wonderful on the device. Now, this is pretty interesting. We got close up to some wood grain to see how well it picked up wood grain on the close-up. Many of these cameras, you need to have macro lenses, but they're getting better at shooting almost in a macro phase. And this is almost within, I think, an inch or half an inch of the wood. And it's shooting really well. So you can see that here with this device, or with this the Note 2, but it shot really good with the wood grain. We were really surprised at how well it did what it did. Anyway, love the camera. It rock and rolls. It's a great compliment to a great device. Okay, so now let's take a look at the camera on the Galaxy S3. Okay, now what we have is we have a lot more customization you can do in adjusting your shots on the S3 and the Android product. Of course, this is what it's largely based upon. So there's a lot more you can do in adjusting the ISO settings and everything else on your camera with the Galaxy S3 over the iPhone 5. Many people love that. They love having the control over their features and the ability to pre-control their shots, if you will, instead of post-editing with apps as you would do on the iOS products. So let's take a look here. You've got your, of course, here on the right-hand side, your ability to switch between video and taking a camera shot. You also have your shutter button here, and you have in the bottom right your albums, if you will, or photo area. On the upper right, or the upper left-hand side, you have your ability to switch between front-facing, rear-facing camera. You can adjust if you want an auto flash or the flash turned on. This is what I'm talking about partially in where you have more control of a shot. You can do burst shots with the Samsung Galaxy S3, and what's great is it can do a set of burst shots, and you can decide which ones you like the best and erase the other ones, or you can continuously shoot very fast. You've got HDR, face detection, smile, beauty, panorama, all this sort of good stuff that you can do with the Samsung. Let's take a look at a few other things here. There's different editors you can put and take and use to edit what your photos are going to look like ahead of time here, which is really nice. And what's really great is it will show you those that edit before you take the photo, or what the photo will look like during the time you're taking that photo with that edit. So that's very cool. A lot of people love that, and the iOS product you can't really do that. With settings, you can see here all the different ways that you can make settings for the Galaxy Samsung S3. You can adjust flash, shooting mode, scene mode, which is interesting. You can do several different scenes: portrait, landscape, night, sports, all these different ones. This is pretty standard for the Android OS product and gives you a whole lot more customization that you can take and do that you can't do on the iOS. Did I say Android product? If I got that wrong, that's fine. Timer effects, you can see here that we can see there. We'll go back into settings. You can adjust your resolution up and down. You can also adjust white balance, ISO, metering that you might want to do, anti-shake, auto contrast, image quality, a whole lot of customizable things that you can do that you can't do with the iOS product. Let's switch over to video, and you'll see much of the same is true here. You've got different ways that you can actually limit stuff for text messaging recording modes. You can create different settings, of course, for your images, like we talked about before, and you, of course, have the ability to control resolution, white balance, all that good stuff, video quality, and where you store it. You can store it, of course, on the micro SD card that you can take and use for this device, where in the case of the iOS product, you cannot do that because it doesn't have an expandable memory. Let's take a look at pictures on both devices. Okay, so let's take a look at using the camera on the Galaxy S3. Now, the Galaxy S3 takes great pictures. You can see here that we have a camera switch on the right-hand side where you can switch between taking photos and taking videos. We have the ability to, of course, have a shutter button here, and down here we have our portfolio of photos. Up here you can choose between different modes of focus, macro, face detection. You can focus between using your flash on and off. You've got, of course, single shot burst mode, HDR, smile shot, beauty, panorama, all sorts of different things you can do there. You can, of course, pull the camera back to you, and then you have different settings. You'll find most of these settings in the Android system, of different settings you can do, adjustments you can do in the resolution of the cameras, anti-shake, auto contrast, all this sort of good stuff, image quality. You have full ability to change the features as you like them and prefer them. So let's go ahead and click out of those. I'm just clicking over here because I'm bored. So let's take a look at the photos that we get, and we'll get an idea as to how well they come out. There's a long pause for some reason, though, when you first go into your photos. After that, the pause disappears, but it's kind of interesting. This is a low light shot that we took using a very darkened area, and of course the flash, you can see here the colors came out really well, and so did the details. It almost looks like we shot it in the light when it was completely dark, so it shoots very well that way. Let's go ahead and flip over. Here's video of the same scene that you can see, and as you can see here, the video with the light came out really well. Lit up the object in the dark, and so taking video at night is really good on the Galaxy S3. Let's see if we can't find some more of what we want to take and get to. Here's video of a floor video that I take and use. Now you can see here the colors are almost an accurate portrayal of my floor, very close. It takes great video. We usually use this as a color test to take and see how high the yellows, the blues, and greens. You can see here this is a photo of my floor, and this is more a darker color, which is more representation of what the camera or what my floor looks like. So it does take really good, accurate pictures, and the colors aren't too mess with. Of course, you can adjust them, customize them, and everything you want. We love the camera on the Samsung Galaxy S3. It's a great camera. Okay, so here you can see the results of our AMzn.to benchmarking test. You can see here that we've got a score of 17,816 on the Note 2 and 9791 on the Samsung Galaxy S3. You can see some of the breakdowns between the CPU scores, etc., etc. You know, the main differences here is you got quad core with the Samsung Note 2. Okay, so here we're using the benchmark and tuning app, and you can see here that the device came in number 1 for the Note 2 at 12,255 and came in number 5 for the Samsung Galaxy S3 at 6,653 in its score. Here we're doing the CF Bench Pro version 1.2 benchmark app. We're going to compare these two side by side. As we page down, if you want to pause to see the individual numbers, you're certainly welcome to. The main numbers we're looking for here at the bottom, the overall score for the Note 2 was 15,124, and for the S3, 9,449. The Note 2 came out at the top of the list, and you can see the Galaxy S3 came out at the top of the list for it. Or I'm sorry, it's kind of interesting. They have the Galaxy S3, then the one, and then your device. So I'm not sure why it's coming in a little bit lower. These benchmarking apps are kind of a loose thing as to which is better and which is not. Okay, so here we're using the PassMark performance test. You can see here that the Note 2 scored 2658 against the S3's 2057. You can pause this at any time to see the results as we go down, but we'll just pause at the totals. The total CPU tests were 11,717 against 5242. Disk test 11,639 against 4929. See some of the scores there, and you can pause this, of course, anytime. Memory tests came in at 1401 against 2015. 54. I believe we have an SD card in the back of this that we've expanded the memory on the S3, so that may be cheating in a little bit. The 2D graphics test came in at 2679 against 1504, and 3D graphics test 903 against 726. Okay, so here you can see we've done a comparison with the GL benchmark 2.5.1. We've got on the Note 2 1959 frames at 17 frames per second, and across the board on the S3 we've got 2352 frames at 21 frames per second. On the off-screen test, 1968 frames at 17 frames per second, and on the off-screen 1480 frames at 13 frames per second. We're not sure if that asterisk means there's some sort of error, like possibly can't read the quad cores wrong. Whenever we see something where it's slowing up on the device, it usually has that asterisk on there, so we're not sure what that means or if it's accurate. Okay, so here we can see the quadrant standard tests, and the Note 2 scored at the highest, 5,556, against the S3 scored 4973, not too bad otherwise. You can see the comparative scores there. Okay, so now let's take a look at the browser mark performance scores. The browser that we used, just the general one that came with the Note 2, we scored 2152. It said it's superior to 83% of all phone browsers. The one we used on the Samsung Galaxy 3 actually scored better, 2942. It was superior to 100% of all phone browsers. So, wow, there you go. Okay, so here you can see our SunSpider JavaScript benchmark results. Now, of course, the lower score here is the better because it's how fast your browser can process the data. Its browser score came in at 1149.6 milliseconds for the Note 2 and 1700.2 for the Samsung Galaxy S3. Okay, so here you can see the Vlamo score tests, and the Vlamo on the Note 2 scored 1859 against 1647. You can see here it scored pretty much the top of the chart. So did the S3. The Metal score came in at 621 against the score on the score on the S3 came in at 577. Okay, so this is what we call the GPS test, and this app determines how many satellites each device can pick up and how good it can be at getting close to an accuracy within 10 feet of itself. You can see here it's got 23 satellites in view that are showing up. There's 18 in use in the Samsung Galaxy S3. There's 21 in view, 11 in use. For some reason, the Note 2 isn't quite getting to 10 feet. We've normally seen in the past that it does. It might just be having a bad day, I guess, or something. Who knows? But it looks like it's going to sit at 20 for us. There you go. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're doing the Billion Counter app test. What this does is tests how well each device and how fast it can count to a billion. The Note 2 did 25.36 seconds. Very fastly, the Samsung Galaxy S3 did it in 22 seconds. Okay, so now here we can see the scores using the AnTuTu 3D rating benchmark apps. The benchmark result for the Note 2 was 3971 against 3039 for the Samsung Galaxy S3. Okay, so here you can see we're doing the AnDE bench app test. This tests the native and Java threads. The Samsung Galaxy Note 2 came in at 8469, and the Samsung Galaxy S3 came in at 3288. The Java threads 330 against 169. The Note 2, of course, beating it out. Alright, so this is what we call the KFS benchmark test. The overall score is 36.476 against 32.717. This basically tests the OpenGL 2.0 performance on this device. Okay, so this is the RL Benchmark SQL Lite Performance Score test. Basically, tests inserts, index tables, string comparisons, drop tables, things of that nature. In the end, the score on the Note 2 was 16.038 seconds against 28.177 seconds. Okay, so we've enjoyed working with both phones. We love both phones. It's kind of cool. The Galaxy Samsung Note 2 is very speedy, very fast. We really, really enjoy it. And of course, the Samsung Galaxy S3, it's got a good special place in our heart. You can decide which one is best for you. You can go to amzn.to for the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 and check out their website. That's the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. And you can go to att.com for the Samsung Galaxy S3 and just tell them Chris Voss sent you. att.com. Thanks for loaning us the phones, AT&T. We certainly appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channels of the Chris Voss Show and all of our different web channels so you can get all the latest, as we have all the major phone companies sending us phones to review. Be sure to check into the chrisvossshow.com often. Thanks for coming by.